Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Private Property Farming Podcast. My name is Mbali Nwoko, and thank you so much for joining us this evening. I just want to put another disclaimer that, please excuse my voice because I'm trying to recover from a very bad flu. So please excuse my voice for tonight as I will try project my voice as best as possible so that you could hear me clearly. But thank you so much for joining us. And today I'm quite excited as well because we are joined by another female farmer. It's always so interesting to speak to female farmers and just share our journeys and our experiences, what we've learned over the years since we started our farming journeys. And it's always great to understand someone else's journey and really take some snippets and really apply that into your own farming journey. So I'm glad we're joined by a female farmer today, and we need more woman representation in this industry. So today we are speaking to Silondiwe Nxumalo from Izimpande farming, and she's based all the way in KZN. Her story is quite interesting because she's she does mixed farming, and it's not every day that you meet a farmer, especially a female farmer at that, farming chicory. So I'm quite interested to hear how she got into the industry and how's that going with her big partnerships and clients that she's supplying to. So if you've got any questions for Silondiwe today, please feel free to comment, share this podcast with anybody you feel that might be interested in watching this conversation today. And please comment during our live conversation because you get to hear from Silondiwe directly and she'll answer your questions. If you don't have any questions, just comment, like, share, whatever you feel like doing. But anyways, we're just happy that you're watching the podcast today and that we're bringing value to you. But without further ado, let's get to speak to Silondiwe. Silondiwe, how are you doing?
Hi, Bali. How are you doing? Thank you so much for such a warm welcome. It's actually a pleasure to be invited in the Imanati Property Show. It's not every day somebody's saying, as a young female farmer, come, let's see what you have to say, which is the total opposite of our industry. Nobody wants to know what we have to say at all. So thank you so much for having me in the show, and I'm truly interested with the conversations we're about to have.
Awesome. Thank you for obviously saying yes. And I know farmers are very, very busy. We send a lot of invites to farmers and they're like, oh my gosh, 8 o'clock. No, we can't have the live because I'm on the fields I'm in the fields during that time. So thank you for making the time. Silondiwe, Izimpande farming. Just tell us about your farming operation. When did you start and how did you get into farming?
I'll just give you a brief background on me. Silondiwe Nxumalo. I grew up in a town, small village in Maphumulo, north of KZN. We grew up. I went to high school in KZN, Itopo High, and I got an opportunity to study in UKZN, which is University of KwaZulu Natal. I graduated in environmental science and geology, which is nowhere near farming, but it's soil, So from there, I went to work for a company in electricity where I was a safety officer. And then from there, I was just feeling a little bit stuck in corporate, feeling no growth. And I got an opportunity. There was a small space around home that was vacant, not being used. Actually, it was attracting crime, and it was attracting, things that were not so good. People were coming, hiding there or sleeping in the bush. So I was like, I'm actually just looking for something new, and I believe in myself, and I believe I could create something not just for me, but for the community on itself. So I came back home about 2017. That's where we started small scale because we had a small space. With farming, as you would definitely know, I saw a couple of podcasts that depending on the amount of space that you have, you can see what type of farming or commodity you can go into. So we definitely went into your spinach, which is your 3 weeks lifespan. You definitely see an income, right, in a short amount of time. So we went into tomato, which was a little bit difficult because it was open fields, and tomato would probably needs more of a controlled space. But we did butternuts as well. So what I was finding it really hard to do is break into the market. You know, we had our spinach, we had our tomato, but nobody was taking it. If somebody was buying it, they were buying it at their own cost, which is not looking at what you have actually, what are your input costs into the actual growing your crop. So that's when we got an opportunity, because I was literally knocking in doors. I'm like, I'm not going to come back home and fail. It's not going to happen. It's knocking in doors. And then we got an opportunity. We got a 50-hectare farm, which grew sugarcane, but nobody was using it. So we started off as renting, but we were renting to buy. From there, we decided to do sugarcane because the mill was in close proximity, and the land was used to being cultivated sugarcane. So it was just an easy crop to go into. So, but once I got into sugarcane, I started looking and seeing all the wonderful things about sugarcane that can be done. I mean, sugarcane is not just a sugar, doesn't only produce sugar, which is bad for you. Right now, even working in things such as producing biofuels from sugarcane, you know, which is a whole different aspect. So from there, because I was in farm from 2018, 2018, we had a supply agreement with one of the sugarcane big companies that they actually produce. So because farming is very sectored, you have the growers, you have the manufacturers, and you have the retailers. And most of the time, as a farmer, you sometimes have to do everything, from growing your crop to putting it and packaging it to going in the informal, whichever markets, and actually selling it. So we were fortunate enough to have millers that were there to take our crop and actually manufacture it and produce sugar. But as I was going into sugarcane, because of the market and how the industry is right now, I think I'll just go into that a bit later. We saw that we need diversification. We need to diversify. I think as a farmer, because it's a very extreme sport. I always tell people, they think Formula Ones and, you know, jumping out of a plane is an extreme sport. Try farming for once. It's extreme sports. We looked in not only by financials, because sometimes you have to pay, or you're actually taking out money for 6 months without any income. Sometimes there's natural causes. There's a drought. There's a fire. That's one issue that we have in the sugarcane is arson and fires. People come, they burn our fields, and you actually have to now restart and grow again. You know, it's a big pandemic, if I were to say, in sugarcane. Then there was all these challenges, and as a female, when you're in the commercial space, there's just those issues where it's like, as a female. So I literally was situated next to a cattle farm. So they used to let the cattle come and graze in my farm. So you have all those challenges. So, but luckily enough, in one of workshops or farming seminars, I got to meet this wonderful person, Baba. I call him Baba Umhlang because he's older than me. So he introduced me to chicory. I've literally never even heard of such a plant. He's like, no, it's what they use to replace coffee beans. So Nestle is a big importer from India. They actually import a lot of chicory from India into South Africa because they don't have enough raw materials, or actually enough chicory farmers within South Africa. So when they tested our soil, they saw that it's actually such a favorable environment. Because if you look at KwaZulu-Natal and you look at India, and the climate is almost likely the same. So we got to testing. We did a pilot run where I planted half a hectare, and it actually turned up so great that now are planting about 5 hectares, which is quite large because, okay, I'm going to speak farming terms. It's quite large because within a hectare, you can actually turn out like 80 tons of chicory, which is a lot. And if you look at how much they actually pay for chicory, which per ton, they are paying 2,000 rand. So in 1 hectare, if you turn out 70 tons and 1 ton is paid 2,000 rand, it's quite something you look at differently. So we got into it. He introduced me to the whole industry, even to the people in Nestle, which were very nice, very welcoming, very teaching. So now they have quite a lot of programs where they're trying to teach people, whatever province there is, to actually now try to make it a well-known commodity and not a mystery on what's this, because everybody drinks coffee, everybody drinks coffee, which is completely chicory. It literally looks like a carrot that's pale. And it grows as one. Its lifespan is 4 months. So after 4 months of planting, you literally take it out, it's dried, and it's roasted, and then it's coffee. So, but that's all that what we do right now. So we have other new projects that we are actually trying to dabble in, especially after the worst pandemic this world has ever experienced. So now we're into hydroponics, where we're looking at how do we now lessen the time of growth of your garlic, of your ginger, if we concentrated more, in a hydroponics, in a tunnel type, instead of just growing it in the ground. So we're just looking into those things, and we're looking into layers as well. There's a lot of people into protein shakes. Everybody's trying to get their shakes in the egg. So like, how many Black people are actually touching in this industry? And if you look at the stats in SAPA, which is South African Poultry Association, you will see that only 5% or 5% of Black people are actually within the industry of poultry, So now we're looking at how can we commercialize it? How can we make it more our thing? Because if we don't start ourselves as the Black community to actually engage in this industries from the beginning to manufacturing, which is agri-processing, what we're doing with the chicory, and actually going to stores. So we end up losing, because I saw that's the one challenge is mostly with the youth, is that they grow, but they give up because nobody's taking, their crops. So yeah, that's basically Izimpande farm in a nutshell. They're still growing, we're still learning. We are trying to do trainings for people to come to the farm, see what's this chicory, see what they can do, because I always believe we always work better in masses. I want more people in farming because I want to pay cheaper in fertilizer. I cannot do this. So yeah, that's Izimpande farm.
Yeah, Silondiwe, you mentioned a lot when you're talking. You keep saying we. So I just want to find out: do you have partners within Izimpande Farming, or are you the sole owner of the business and are managing the entire operations?
I'm actually the sole owner of Izimpande, but I think I could never say that I'm alone in the company. I definitely have partnerships within the chicory. I definitely have mentors that are helping me, even in the logistics, because right now where I am, I started in 2018. So it's only 2021. It's been 3 years. So I don't have trucks as yet. There's things that you actually do need help as a young farmer or an emerging farmer. So I keep saying we, because I don't see this entity as only me. I mean, I have full ownership of it, but there's so many pieces to the puzzle that bring everything together. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you mentioned that, you first started with vegetables, then moved to sugarcane, and now you're doing chicory. With having compared all the 3 different commodities, what is it that you can say you want to really focus on, other than the training and the eggs, etc.?
Yes.
What is it that, where exactly do you see the opportunities? Do the opportunities lie most importantly in chicory, and that because you've got such a good partnership with a very established organization? Where exactly are the opportunities lying, and what is it that you are going to focus on?
Definitely chicory. One, because it's not explored as a plant. There's so many unknowns within the plant. And the other day we were seeing where they actually take the chicory and turn it into an alcohol infused to be used as sanitizers, to be used. So my main focus absolutely chicory because of the main growing industry of coffee. We as South Africa, we can't grow coffee beans because of our climate. But if there is means to producing something that everybody consumes, I'm definitely more focused in that. As well as not besides the monetary values of it, because that's important. It is a business. The turnaround time from sugarcane compared to chicory is very high. You know, with sugarcane, it takes 12 to 24 months depending on where you are in the country. But with chicory, wherever you are, it's still 4 months. You from seed to actual harvest. It's actually 4 months. So my most focus is there. We even working with your Department of Agriculture, and many entities where we still wanting to discover, still wanting to open up this niche to everyone within young, older, black, and just teach them on what chicory is and how, because as a crop itself, we only use I would say the roots because it looks like a root. That's why it looks like a carrot. We use the roots for coffee, but you have the leaves on top that those can be used for kettle, like it can use for feed, can be ground. It has so many nutrients within it. So my main focus right now is definitely chicory and how we grow, because since I have 50 hectare, I mean, only 5 is literally a percentage of the farm. So to imagine if I grow it further, it would definitely will make a significant difference. And I feel like there's so much it can teach us. There's probably medicinal, properties that we haven't really touched on with the chicory. So that's definitely my main focus. And I'm going the Izimpande towards chicory.
That was going to be my next question to say, I recall you saying that are farming or producing on 50 hectares. However, with the chicory, it's only 5. So
Yes.
what is it what are you doing with the remaining 45? Are you continuing with your sugarcane production?
Yes, I'm definitely continuing with sugarcane production because it still helps, because without the sugarcane, we wouldn't have grown into the chicory.
Yeah.
So the rest, not exactly 45 hectares, is growing sugarcane. Probably about 21, 22 hectares that actually has sugarcane. The other is vacant land to actually see and experiment on what can be done. And other land is actually buildings, and other spaces is just not farmable as well.
Right, right.
Yes,
Going back to chicory and that you've mentioned that, and sorry, going back to chicory and mentioning
yeah,
that you have Nestle as a off-taker,
yes,
what are the pros and cons of contract farming? Because I can imagine this is a new commodity that you are venturing
absolutely.
into. 5 hectares. What happens if the commodity does not meet the client's grade? Where else are you going to
Yeah,
sell that chicory? It's quite a niche crop. So, having had this relationship with this international organization,
yeah.
what are the pros and cons of contract farming, or farming just a niche crop that you've experienced
Yeah.
so far?
I think I'll just talk based on both chicory and sugarcane, because both are contract farming where I'm supplying a specific international brand. I'll start with the cons because I want to be in a positive note. But the cons, it actually happened recently where we planted and we were expecting people to come and take our crop, but they couldn't because of the pandemic. There was restrictions within the workspace. We actually lost some vital people within the actual company. That was actually like one of the people who was a supplier, the creator of it all. Unfortunately, were gone. So there was a lot of missing spaces, and we as the growers, we were left to a now or to a space where we didn't know what to do. But I always believe where's the challenge, it's always a lesson on what to do next. So luckily, because I knew some of the people within the organization, we just rallied ourselves as the farmers that supplied Nestle. We put our crops together and we actually just exported it to other countries because they actually shut down. They shut down processing. So if you shut down processing, you can't stay with the crop for more than a month. It actually expires. There's just so much that could go wrong. And with the sugarcane industry as well, because it's a seasonal crushing season. When I say seasonal, the mills only open from April to November. So in planting as well, you need to be aware of those times because wherever there is manufacturing, there must be downtime in both Nestle and with the sugarcane. There's always downtime because they need to clean the machines, disinfect, do maintenance. So those are the cons that if this is your plan A, you definitely have to have a plan B. But as a farmer, that's just one thing you must always know that you cannot have just one plan. You need to know. So that's when I even got to discover that the leaves of chicory can be eaten by cattle, by livestock, by goats, even pigs. So you get to diversify looking at the type of issues that you are faced with. So those are the definite cons. Is I think it's the pricing because they look at what's happening within the industry, what's the stats. So your pricing can go down and you can make a definite loss. And since this is your primary taker, what else can you do? So those are definite cons. The pros of it is you have a definite market. At any time when you plant, someone will always take your plants. You always get income, whether it's a profit this month or it's not, but you definitely always have a space so you know that you are growing something to be sold by the end of the season. So I think that's with contract farm, because right now what's happening in the sugarcane industry is there was an unexpected increase of demand for sugar. So now you left I'll call depots, but you left with depots where they don't have sugar at all. And I have people calling me and I'm like, I'm a grower. I'm not I'm not doing sugar. I just grow. They're calling me, they're like, can we get sugar? What's happening? Who do we talk to? And because nothing was crushed, there was a downtime and the machines are being maintained, and literally there is nothing, there is no sugar at all. So it's like, what do we do now? We are opening up something that COVID actually helped us close. So I'm just gonna go in terms of with COVID for sugarcane farmers, because there's a lot of challenges that we were facing because of droughts. Sugar prices, the RV prices went extremely down, and it wasn't feasible for any farmer to be farming sugarcane at the point. But with COVID, when it came, it closed the borders. So people now are forced to actually take the locally produced sugar. There was no imports from any country that was a lesser price. Even with the effects of the sugar tax, which is you increase anything that has a sugary drinks, anything with sugar was increased in prices. But even with that challenge, COVID actually helped us close all people that were bringing in their imports into South Africa. That definitely even increased tariff prices. Like whoever wanted to bring in their products had to pay more than the local producer to get their products on the shelf. So it's a because of industry and how industry works, it's literally give and take. But I think as a person, you must just always look at challenges as lessons and how to overcome, instead of just saying, oh, I cannot do this anymore, because that's just farming every day. There's always a challenge every single day. I mean, this morning I literally had an arson fire, which ruined so much of my plant, and I had a breakdown of a tractor. So there's just so many things that happen. but just take it as, okay, I've learned today, what do I do tomorrow to make things better? So that's literally the pros and cons of working in a contractual type of farming.
Yeah, we have a question here, Silondiwe, from Solomon
Yeah.
Zulu, and he asks, if one wants to get involved in chicory, how can I go about it? What are the minimum requirements? So maybe explain, what are the minimum requirements in terms of chicory farming with regards to maybe land, water, climate? How many minimum hectares does one need to cultivate to make a profit? That sort of thing, yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely say you need a minimum of, but with any farming, I think, firstly, do a pilot run before you invest so much of your money and something does not work, whether it's spinach, whether it's butternuts, whether it's macadamia nuts. Always do a pilot run and see if it works within the space you have. But to make a profit, I would definitely say start from about 3 hectares to you can go up to 20 hectares. I think in Alexandra, there's a chicory industry in Alexandra in Eastern Cape. They have about 25 hectares. The nice thing about you don't need a lot of space. It's when you see carrots, you see it doesn't need a lot of space. As I'm saying that in 1 hectare, you can literally, if you have good cultural and management practices, you can harvest up to 70 tons of the chicory within a hectare. So your minimum requirement, I'll say, is firstly do research. You have to have some knowledge of everything, whether whichever commodity you are in, you have to have some form of knowledge of it. Research. You can contact Braba. I'm not name dropping. She's literally the contact in Nestle. If you go to the Nestle website, there's a contact Braba. You can call her up, say that I would like to supply you with chicory. What contracts do I need to have, or what documents do I need to have? Most of the time, they need to know that it's your land, whether you're leasing it or you're not, but they just don't want to have issues where they expecting to have so many tonnages from a farmer and they don't receive it. So those one of the cons as well is you have to have an estimate by the beginning of the year. I estimate that I will give you so much of product, and if the end of the year you don't meet that requirement, it actually kind of makes a negative in the income that you would receive. So you definitely contact them. You tell them this is my estimate. They can even tell you where to get the seeds because they import the seeds as well. So, but they have more information. But if they are wanting more information than I'm giving them, if they have more questions, they can definitely go to my Facebook. They can inbox me at Silondiwe Nxumalo. I'm definitely willing to give information. So on how to get seeds for it. So the farming process itself, you dig about 10 centimeter hollow. You plant it pin-like. You plant it pin-like. You have to have irrigation in your farm. You
What
have to with it.
Is it drip irrigation?
You have to have irrigation. Sorry.
So what type of irrigation? Drip, sprinkler, overhead, center pivot?
I would, because I'm using sprinkler, I would definitely say sprinkler because it wants water, but not a lot of water where it's dammy. It mustn't be. It must just be sprinkled. So I use sprinklers as well. So definitely use sprinkler irrigation system. You definitely have to have a space with electricity. You definitely have to have some form of security, whether it's a fence, a person to go, because you just need to have that form of security because you are investing and this is your business. So you can even get into insurance. It's not a minimum requirement, but I think at minimum, just have your land, make sure if you lease it, you have the proper documents, find information on the chicory and your market, get to know them, speak to them, email them, find where you get your seeds, the type of fertilizers that's used, because it's not the general fertilizer. There's no general fertilizer ever. There's specifically for chicory. There's no herbiciding in chicory at all. So you do a manual labor, you literally, because it's like carrots. carrots you take it out of the ground, so minimum pollution to it. So and yeah, I think after that you can just definitely start. After you have your seeds, you know who you're supplying to, you have your space, you have your water, it's you're good to go.
Right. Thank you for
Yeah.
that. I want to know, Silondiwe, earlier on you mentioned a couple of challenges, right? That you
Yeah.
planted sugarcane, you had your neighbor bring his or her cattle to come and graze on your land, that set you back. You're talking about challenges with regards to arson, felt fires,
Yeah. Mm.
having to fix the tractor, etc. All of those are disruption in a business, and you have to
Yes,
keep going. You have to ensure business
absolutely.
continuity. How are you surviving in terms of cash flow in your business, and how are you overcoming this challenge of disruptions? And I'm sure it's really putting a lot of pressure on your cash flow.
It is. It definitely is, because I can say to you right now that I have spent 6 months without any income coming in, and but we have to survive because you have employees that you need to pay, and you have to. So in terms of cash flow, what I've done is with both, which can be a pro that I'm forgetting, with contractual farming, with both companies that I'm supplying, I've had a program that they have where they kind of save 10% of all my income, and anytime I'm feeling a tight squeeze, I just go back into, and you get a daily statement. So you get updated on how much you have in money that you've saved up. I'm not going to just say save, because it's very difficult in farming. So right now I need to go, to go fix a tractor. What are you going to do? You're going to spend the money that you think you're saving. But with them, it's more of a challenge of getting the money. So it's easier that it's saved with them. And as well with contractual farming, you can go, you speak to your people that I'm having a challenge, I need an advance, so and so, I've been supplying for your guys for so long, and it's easier for them to invest in you, because them investing in you is definitely a profit for them. So that's how I actually manage and just to manage my books, like good record keeping. I'm a science student, but right now my accounting is on par. Good record keeping, know where each and every cent is. Make sure you pay yourself, absolutely pay yourself, so that you don't touch the business money. It's an entity, it's a human on its own. And if you start now, and then that's where most of your financial mistakes or oversight happens, if there's no definite distinction between the business and you. So that's how I think I've survived all these years, in terms of making sure I'm saving money within the companies that I have, and try to save money on my own. But diversifying as well, what helps you with the sugar, because sugarcane is 12 months, with the chicory is 4 months. I definitely have planted in a way that I'm able to get money monthly. When it starts, it can start smoothly. Make sure, because with sugarcane and chicory, you can plant it all year round. So you can plant some in January, others, so that you can be harvesting every other month, that you're not really dependent on one set season or one set month where you're going to get your yearly income. So that's how we definitely have been keeping it's record keeping, saving up, and making sure that you know where is what, and diversifying where you have to.
Yeah, thank you for those tips. I definitely agree. Record keeping is completely imperative, and not a lot of farmers are really doing their record keeping. They're not putting a lot of time and attention on the financials. But just to sum up our conversation, Silondiwe, what sort of future do you see for South African farming, and what opportunities maybe are there specifically for Black females? Because you did mention that it's important for us as Africans, as Black individuals, to really take advantage of the opportunities that exist,
Absolutely.
researching and exploring different avenues and opportunities. Like today I get to see and speak to a chicory farmer. So what sort of a future do you see for South African farming? And just closing off our conversation, what advice would you give to I'll just specifically say, young Black females in who want to maybe go into the industry, or who already are in the industry but are just struggling?
Yeah, I definitely would say how I see the future of farming is definitely looking a little bit balanced, how it should be in the beginning, because right now it's looking a bit lenient. A lot of people are very hungry to know. A lot of young Black people are hungry to know how to become a farmer, how to go into farming. And the nice thing that we come with is we come with the technology, the information. With our parents, it wasn't as easier to get information because the internet wasn't so vast, the internet wasn't there. So now, because there's so many things that is in farming, like farming is not literally going into soil only and planting something. Now we have your legislations within farming. So I see it as right, because whichever industry or whatever you've learned, whatever skills that you have, you can actually come back and use it within farming. You look at lawyers, the lawyers can come and help us with everything that's happening in farming. You look at accountants, you look at technology. What I've done is right now I'm collaborating with a wonderful lady named Caesar, where we are trying to get farmer to table app, where within as Uber, you Uber wherever you are, the Uber will literally come to you. So with farming as well, we're trying to put that database together. So wherever you are, whether you need tomatoes, spinach, carrots, cabbage, you are able to go into this app and you're able to get what you need from farmer to your own table. So I really see it as quite growing, and looking at drones as well. So many people are using technology to their benefits, using a drone instead of taking half a day, maybe in a 2,000-hectare farm, and trying to figure out what's happening, testing it. You can actually now use drones to overlook and overview, look at diseases and what's happening in the comfort of your own home. There is a probe that they use now to actually test soil. So the turnaround time is so much shorter, because you had to go take samples of soil, put them together, take it to a lab. 50 years later now, you can get to know what you can actually plant. So now there's just probes. So I feel it as more inclusive of everyone, whether it's old, whether it's young, whether it's Black, whether it's white. I see such a brighter future in South Africa within farming. And because people are exploring so many things, such as cannabis as well. There's so many other commodities that are coming, and people are exploring. Like, even if you don't like farming, there's a certain things that you like that actually comes from farming. So people are curious. So I definitely see a better and a brighter future, because the one thing that we are trying to move from is moving from a labor intensive farming into a more skilled labor farming. So we want to educate people. We want to make sure we're inclusive. It's not only the lower type of person that works in a farm now. Now it's a very educated, in masters, whatever degree, whatever honors that you have, you can come and actually use it within the industry. So that's what I'm excited for in the future of farming. So if I would give advice to any young Black person, is wherever you are, just use the resources that you have. There's such, unfortunately, I don't have a picture of this, but if you go to my Facebook, you'll see there's this nice house where they actually, it's called, it's agriculture in the urban areas. It's, yes, agri-urban farming. So you literally, wherever you are, you don't even need land. You need your windowsill, and you put together DIY. You have your spinach in your house. You have your onions. What I would literally have to say is, start within what you have. Find information, seek information. Do not be discouraged by any person, because this is your start. You don't have to start with 50 cows. It doesn't make sense as well. Like, who starts with 50 million? No wonder most people that are getting rich quickly lose money quickly. So look at things that way, that you have to start small and grow in order to be sustainable. Seek out information. Just make sure that you do your research. Always put your best first forward, work smart. I always say don't work so hard, but work smart. Record keeping, make sure that you are lining yourself up with seminars, the workshops, seek information, give information where you can, and it is definitely going to work. And absolutely don't give up. We are here. At any time you need help, we will take shouts, write an SMS, or write you back. Even if you're not getting land, like I feel like people are just like, I need land. No, you get land. Farm. You won't
Yeah.
get land. It's like, but how do you get land? Like,
Mm.
nobody's getting land. You will just keep on knocking. You will find. I mean, I have one friend that started port. Piggery. Started piggery at his backyard, and they're like, "How do you even start piggery? Pigs smell." No, pigs don't smell. It's the lack of information of those that are in piggery that make pigs smell. But he started it there. Now he's about to get his 300 hectares of a farm where he can diversify, and he started there. Now he wants to go into having his own abattoir to allow Black people to come, because we know that doors are closed. We're not oblivious to that. But doesn't mean that there's not a window and not a ventilator. Just keep on trying and you'll see that it would actually work out. So that's definitely my advice to everybody out there. They must align themselves, get information, don't give up, and start where you are. I mean, I had this other lady that I was talking to that literally had money, grants money. She started with her baby grants money, and now she's sitting with 50 tunnels, hydroponics. She literally can't even meet the demand that for her clients, but she started there. She had her education. She went and she did her dentistry. I don't know what else she did, but it didn't work out, and she had to make a plan. So she made a plan with the small amounts of money that she actually had, and now today she's literally a living story. And I want people to believe in themselves. We are tangible, we are here, it's not a mystery. Farming is literally for everyone, and the more the merrier.
Mm.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow, I don't know what to say after that, Silondiwe, because you touched on so many valid points. Record keeping, keeping abreast of your financials, starting
Yes,
small, growing gradually,
yes,
research, connecting with
absolutely.
industry experts, connecting with farmers,
Yes,
speaking to them, finding out information. And these are the basic things that people can do just to get started and get ahead. And I'm so grateful that you mentioned some of these two stories of this piggery farmer and this
yeah,
lady in hydroponics, because people sometimes feel that it's quite far to reach to such lengths in farming, or to get to those goals, whereas you can start in your backyard, you can start on a half a hectare, and tomorrow grow on.
absolutely.
And what you mentioned with regards to diversification, it's also important to diversify, especially once you
Yes,
become comfortable in growing one particular thing. You can diversify so that you have different income streams, because different commodities take time to grow or have different times of growing. And therefore, if you
yes,
diversify, you can get income or money or revenue at different times of the year
yes,
and different seasons. So this is how you keep abreast of your operations. Thank you
absolutely.
so much for these words of wisdoms and for sharing your
Thank
story
you.
with the private property community.
Yes, and thank you so much. I mean, I think just the last words
Yeah.
is I want to really motivate people to not just farm primary and look into manufacturing as well. I mean, there's this other lady we're helping here. She had chilies, she was growing chilies, but nobody was taking them because with the pandemic,
Mm.
most shops were closed. Your butcheries were closed, so nobody was buying chilies as they are. But today now she's sitting with her own brand of hot sauce that she makes on her own. She literally cooks it up in her kitchen. So I would
Wow.
definitely like young farmers to not only look at the primary parts of farming, but look at the manufacturing as well, because it literally increases the crop value so much. definitely I think that's my last words, is to look at manufacturing, look at controlling industries for ourselves and not waiting for people to actually give us opportunity, because most of the time you'll never get it. So you need to create where you are and definitely make the best of it. Thank you so much for having me on the show. This was so wonderful. I can literally talk here forever.
Yeah, maybe we should have you back with a part two, just talking about agro processing. But for any of you watching tonight, I think we just had a fantastic guest, Silondiwe Nxumalo from Izimpande Farming. She is a chicory farmer / sugarcane farmer based in KZN, and she definitely dropped some words of wisdom tonight, tips that you could take into your own farming journey and make a success out of it. If you missed tonight's show, definitely catch this podcast on our YouTube channel under the farming playlist. And you'll get to obviously take note of everything that Silondiwe said, and most importantly, understand the story and her journey, which she's taken to today. She started from vegetables, went into sugarcane. Now she's a chicory farmer, being contract farming with a large established organization. And I definitely like the things that she mentioned about how she's been able to grow her business by managing her cash flow, making sure that every time she's generating sales, she's giving a bit of a portion of her sales into it, like a savings account of some sort, so that it could look after her business when her business hits a downturn. So I think tonight's conversation was absolutely fantastic. Thank you to each and every one of you that joined us this evening. And please like, share, and comment, and spread this podcast to anybody that is interested in farming and wants to just grow in this sector. We definitely need many more people, because the demand for food is just not enough, and we need more farmers to grow food, to process, and definitely bring a value add in all these commodities that we're farming. That's it from me, and I wish you a very, very good night, and I will see you next week. Thank you very much.